All right. Well, thank you very much for being here today. Um, we are going to be going over multimedia accessibility. Um, we'll, and we're focusing mostly on video. We'll start out with a little bit of the why, just so we know why we're doing it. We'll talk a little bit about captioning standards, some best practices, things like that. And we'll talk about how to edit our captions in Kaltura. That's going to be the hands-on portion. And then hopefully we will have some time for questions at the end, but you can always ask questions during the workshop. Feel free to just jump on the microphone. I think, we're not that big of a group. So I don't have a problem with you opening your mic and asking a question, but if you don't have access to your mic or you don't feel comfortable talking, feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I do my best to monitor it, but I don't always see it right away. So, just be patient with me. So thank you. All right. So before we get started, are there any last minute questions?
Yeah, I just have a real quick question.
Yep.
I noticed that I went in and out of the little course a couple times, and it seems you're making a copy every time I go in and out. So I have a clip of a closed caption. I have a clip of a clip of a clip of a closed caption.
Really?
Yeah, I'm seeing multiple copies here on my screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened.
Is anybody else seeing that from me? Because I also see Sharif and Rihanna, but I don't see the same thing happening with theirs. That's why I was wondering.
That's strange. We'll figure that out at the end.
Okay, yeah, we can talk later.
Yeah, we'll hopefully, yeah, it'll sort itself out. All right. Well, okay. So moving on. First, we're going to talk about why, right? And it's very simple, right? We want to ensure access to everybody. That's basically what it comes down to, okay? There is a new law, the WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines 2.1, which here I can show this to you if you'd like. These are the new guidelines for accessibility. The deadline for this is coming up quick. So yeah, I think, Rihanna, I think that's probably true. You're seeing other people's copies. Hopefully that won't be a problem. But it's something that's coming. We're going to have to deal with it. So, and honestly, it's the right thing to do, right? Because we want to make sure that everyone, regardless of their ability, has access to our content. So, even if this wasn't the law, this is something we would want to be doing. Okay, I'm going to move back to our PowerPoint. Hold on a second. So, but yeah, for number one, right, the reason we're doing this is for legal compliance, okay? Or this is really what's forcing the change on us this quickly, okay? All of our content has to be accessible by this year, right? In April, the end of April, I think it's April 24th. There are some institutions that are allowed an extra year. We are not one of those institutions. But as I said, we want all of our content to be as accessible as possible to everybody, right? It's not just because of legal compliance, because that's the right thing to do, right? We want to be inclusive. And I know that sometimes, diversity, inclusivity, things like that are not necessarily great words to be using these days, but it's something we want to ensure we have at our university, right? We want all of our students, regardless of their ability, to be able to access our content, okay? So they can participate equally. But it goes beyond that, right? Because, there are other benefits we get from this added accessibility, right? Because someone who, say, is a non-native speaker, captions may help them, right? They may not necessarily need them, but being able to see the words on screen can be helpful for someone who's not a native speaker. Okay, maybe somebody's in a noisy environment, or they're on the train or something like that, where they don't want to, they don't have their headphones and they don't want to, disturb everybody else by turning on their speakers. So, in this case, the captions would help. And another huge benefit, I think, is that it allows you, by creating captions and things like that, that also creates a transcript, and that transcript is searchable. So that allows students and yourself to search through the transcript to find the portions they need. So it just makes it a little easier to get to where you want. But I would say, those are probably the those are probably the most important reasons. But there are always lots of other reasons and benefits that we get from doing these things, and that's why it's important. So some of our, well, let's move to multimedia features. How about? Okay. So when we talk about accessible multimedia, right, we're talking about some basic features. And these are the essential features that we're going to be talking about today. The first, I'm sure you're all familiar with captions, right? Captions are just text displayed on the screen. That's all it is. And they should, sync up with the dialogue, etc. We have transcripts. You know what those are, right? That's just a text version of your audio content. And as I said, that's important because it provides a searchable piece for students to use. But mostly what we're going to be doing, right, or not mostly, but a lot of what we're going to be doing is also adding audio descriptions, right? This is, and this is, I mean, captions and transcripts fairly obvious. Audio descriptions maybe not so much, right? Because what you do with an audio description is, you need to describe the visual elements in a video, okay? Because, for someone who is, say, has a vision impairment and is unable to see the screen, you need to describe what is going on for them, okay? Now, for most of you, right, a lot of you probably are, when we talk about multimedia and how you use it in your course, a lot of you are probably recording your lectures, okay? So just be aware, right, that when you're doing that, and and I'm sure you post those online for your students, those need to be captioned. But you also need to include audio descriptions for any visual elements you have, say, in your slide deck. Okay. Now you do this. You're already doing this. Okay. Normally, right, you don't throw up a slide and not tell the students what's on there, right? So if you have a visual, you're going to be doing that. Okay. So I wouldn't worry about that so much as a problem. Just kind of be aware of it, and remind yourself that you want to make sure that you include a visual description of setting, what's happening, and any of the characters if you need it to fill it out for people. Now, there are two types of descriptions we're talking about. And the first are standard descriptions, which are just added during a natural pause. And that's what I was talking about when I was talking about how, when you're lecturing and you're displaying slides or content on screen for students, generally you are describing what's going on. So as part of your teaching. Okay. So, and that is something you're going to do naturally. So for most of you, your lectures, when you record them, you're going to be able to just edit the captions to make sure they're accurate, and you should be good. But In rare cases, you may need to add an extended description. And all an extended description is what happens is the video is paused while you describe what's happening on screen. Now, you can do this for various reasons, but mostly it's just that there's just not enough time to describe everything that's going on. So you're going to have to pause the video for a moment. I was in a meeting the other day where Kaltura is working on a feature to help us do this, but it has not been released yet. So if you do need an extended description now, or in one of your and say you have a video in your course and you decide you need an extended audio description, you will have to use I would suggest Adobe Express, but an outside editing platform to put that pause in. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to say it, Paul. It's kind of a video equivalent of alt text. That is exactly right. You are just describing what is happening on screen. Thank you for simplifying. Excellent. But just remember that if you do that, we have tools available to help you do that. So and it's not quite in the scope of this particular workshop, but we offer workshops in video editing in Adobe Express. You can also just reach out to me directly. I'm more than happy to help you if this is something you need. But most of you, like I said, for the most part, you're going to be fine with standard audio descriptions that happen during just your normal oration. Okay. Now for captions, right? I'm going to describe these in a little more detail, right? They're going to appear on the video. The idea with captions is you convert all dialogue and sounds into the text, right? And they should be roughly synchronized with the audio, right? I'm sure we've all watched videos with captions, and sometimes the captions lag or sometimes they're a little bit ahead, but it should be, roughly synchronized. It's never going to be perfect. But you want to also make sure that your captions are grammatically correct. They include proper punctuation, things like that. And remember, you need to describe sounds other than speech too. So, you've probably seen that too, where like music will be playing and they'll have the little music icon and it'll say music. Sometimes it'll even say the name of the song. I've seen in a few instances, but basically everything needs to be captioned. Okay. Anything you see on screen needs to be captioned or described, right? And these captions will help more than just people who might have a visual impairment, right? They help our non-native speakers, people in noise environment, people who don't want to bug other people by turning on their speakers, things like that. But when we put these, excuse me, let me start over. When it comes to captioning, though, there are some best practice guidelines, okay? And these are, I want to point out that these are just guidelines. They're not rules. If you have to break them, break them. But these are just some best practice guidelines to keep it smooth and keep everything sort of compact and easy to read, stuff like that. So you want to make sure that you only have about 2 lines per block. That's, as much as anything, that's because you don't want to block a bunch of the screen, right? Because the captions do take up some screen space. They're generally on the bottom, about quarter of the screen. So that's something also to consider when you are creating your visuals, is that, remember that you are going to have captions at the bottom of the screen. So make sure to keep your important content up a little higher where people can see it easier. But you want to, you don't want to have too many characters per line. It recommends 36 to 40. But again, that's going to depend on sort of the font size and your screen width. You want to make sure you have them on screen for a second. It's best to break your caption blocks at hard punctuation like periods, question marks, things like that. But again, you just kind of have to use your best judgment, I guess. Okay. You want to do your best to avoid variation in line breaks. You want to do your best to avoid orphan words, but sometimes they happen. And an orphan word is just a single word on screen for just a minute. Okay. So a lot of times if you have those, you can just stick them in the caption block before it or after it, depending on how it goes. But one thing to note is that if you do have multiple speakers, if it's not obvious on screen who's speaking, there's more than one speaker, you will need to put in names in brackets to identify your speaker. But if the speaker isn't supposed to be known yet, you can just use those greater than symbols at the beginning of the line. These best practices guidelines were given to me from the DRC. So this is, this kind of takes a lot of the stuff and sort of breaks it down into just sort of the more common or techniques you'll need to use. So that should cover most of it. Okay, we talked about transcripts a little bit, right? But that's just a non-synchronized version of the audio from the video. The file itself should be close to the video. Usually, like a lot of these services, like in Kaltura, the transcript is just part of the player window that you can open up and download from there, which, transcripts are nice, as I mentioned, because it makes it easier to find things because you can search your transcript. And that'll tell you about where something is, right? If you've ever tried to scrub through an hour of video to try to find something, it's pretty difficult. So using a transcript to sort of get you in the area quicker is going to be a big help. And the nice thing is, right, about Kaltura is that it generates our transcripts automatically. It does that when it generates the closed captions, which it will do. Anytime you upload a video to Kaltura, it automatically captions them for you. Keep in mind that this captioning is it's machine generated, so it's not going to be 100% accurate. That's why we have to go back and edit our captions. But moving on. Okay, so a little more about audio descriptions. Okay, I kind of talked about this a little bit already, but just to reiterate, right? If some of your content only has a visual presentation, you need to describe it. Okay, that could be a graph. It could be just a picture. Yes. Paula gives us a great reminder. Always check your Kaltura captions. Yes. As I mentioned, the captioner is a machine captioner, so it is not perfect, but it is pretty good. If you enunciate and speak clearly, the captioning is pretty accurate. But if you do have, say, an accent, or you talk quickly, or things like that, sometimes it's a little more difficult for the captioner to be as accurate. So keep that in mind and check your captions. I see a hand up from Bob. I'll just pause for a second. Do you have a question?
Yeah, just how close are the captions to the transcript?
Well, it's all part of the player window. The captions will show up in the player window. The transcript itself is, you have to reveal it. So it's hidden at first, and there's a button in the player window that allows you to open up the transcript.
And let me rephrase. I'm wondering how close and how accurate and are the transcripts to the captioning? Is it word for word?
Oh,
the
yeah,
same?
No, the in Kaltura, the transcript is actually generated from the captions.
Okay.
So it's the same. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Were there any other questions? Take a second here. All right. Hearing none, I will continue to go. Okay. So, in case I didn't touch on this, remember when you are planning your script, right? When you're creating your lectures, things like that, make sure you include descriptions of important events, elements that are important, things like that. You want to describe everything. Okay. And remember that you're only going to use an extended audio description when you have to, right? So if it's, if you've got just sort of a very busy visual, you may need to pause that. But I would say most of the time you're going to be able to just do it with a regular old, audio description. Right. I wanted to make just a quick note about live captions. This is something that the Disability Resource Center does do for our students. And I just wanted to touch on it for a minute. If a student needs this accommodation, the student will contact you. But basically what happens is you connect with a live captioner from the DRC, and they have they have a system that you will wear a small microphone, and what that does is that connects you to the captioner, who then can caption your lecture for the student, and it's all done on via their laptop. I do want to, or their computer. I will warn you, there are some, because this is a Bluetooth system, there are some classrooms that are a little problematic, that don't work well with the Bluetooth microphones for some reason. And in those cases, we do try to set up like a Teams meeting or Zoom meeting to alleviate that. Teams and Zoom both have captioning for live meetings. It's machine captioned, and it's something that you don't have any control over. It's activated by the end user. And another nice thing about Teams and Zoom is that it does generate our transcript automatically when you record. But I just wanted to mention that in case it comes up. Like I said, if a student does need that accommodation, they will contact you. You do not have to reach out to them. All right, so now it's time to move to the hands-on portion of the program. So what I would like you to do is, and if you can, and just keep your window open, or if you can open another window, that would be, that's what I'm trying to say. And let me move over. I'm going to talk about, or I'll go through this captioning thing. So give me just a second to get switched over. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you very much. Okay, so we've done this before, right? On Blackboard, we click the Tools tab over here, and then we're going to go to Kaltura My Media. And I hope this is processed for you, but you should have at the top something that looks like this, clip of closed caption practice. What we're going to do is we're going to show you how to mess with the captioning. So the first step is to click this little pencil icon over on the right side to open the editor. And now you see in the editor, we actually are going to scroll down, and there's some tabs below the player window. And by the way, this is in your player window here, this is where you can download the transcript. It's right here. And you can show the transcript by clicking this. Also, just while we're here, there are two download icons on this little player window. This one downloads your transcript down here, and this one up here actually downloads the video. So if you ever do need to take Kaltura videos and save them to another location, that's how you're going to do it. All right. But to edit our captions, we're just going to come down here and look at our tabs, and we're going to open the Captions tab. And you'll see that there's some different captionings or different entries here. To edit our captions, all we have to do is click this Edit Captions button. And once we do that, we're taken to this screen here, which has our video on the right and our captions on the left. And up here in the corner is the Save button. It's currently grayed out because I haven't started anything yet. But once you click into your captions to do some editing, that will light up. You do need to remember to save when you're finished. Otherwise, all your captioning, correctioning will go for naught. So, but once you're in here, it's very much, you edit it very much like you would a Word document. All you have to do is click in here and just remove things, right? Or add things, right? In that case, I want it. And you'll notice once I made some corrections, now my Save button is lit up, okay? So what you can do with this then is, or what I usually do, I should say, is I just basically click the play button and watch. I listen, and it's not going to work well today because we're all using our Teams. But you'll hear it, right? If you're and you see the captions on the bottom. When I hit a spot that I don't like, that I know I need to correct, I just click the pause. Okay. Now, for example, right here, right? And I put this is obviously an incorrect, so I'm just going to highlight that like I would a Word document and correct. Okay. It does have the spell correct thing, so it will point out things if it thinks it's incorrect, but again, you are the final arbiter. So if you notice, problems, just go ahead and correct them. So a couple of other things about this is that you can add, I don't see it, hold on. Save this. Oh, I forgot to say that. And then because this does this automatically, it gives it a score to an accuracy score at the end. When you've gone through it and corrected it, and you know that the captions are better, you can actually bump up that score. Actually, I'm not quite there yet. Go 99 and click save. And honestly, that is that's about all you have to do to correct your captions. Were there any questions about the actual correcting of the captions? In that process. I hope I didn't lose you all. Oh, okay, good. All right. So I did put a few other errors in here. So if you go through there and want to give you a few minutes, go through there, make some corrections, save them, see how it looks. And if you have any difficulty, as far as I know, yes, English is the only option for now. But I do believe you can get other captions. I would have to look into that in a little more detail, though. But I will get back to you, Tedra. Yeah. Any other questions? I know it's fairly straightforward process, but it is a little time consuming, and it's just the nice thing is though is once you have it done, it's done. Okay, so as long as you keep using the same videos, you only have to caption them once. But I've got plenty of time left here, so if there are any questions, if you'd like me to go through this again, I can certainly do that. I'm not. I'm actually. This has changed a little since I've done it last because I thought there was a place to add. Oh, I guess they're right there. So I'm not sure because you should be able to add an extra speaker. So it's like it gives that thing, but I don't know why it's grayed out. I don't know if something's goofy. All right. Well, I won't waste your time. If you need to do something else, feel free. But that's about all I have in terms of how the captioning is done. I'm more than happy to hang out and answer questions. If you do have any problems with this, because I'm going to, I like Kaltura, but it can be a little finicky at times. So if you do run into problems with Kaltura, please give me a call. I'm going to tell you the basic rule of Seidel, which is if it takes you more than 5 minutes, give us a call. Okay. That's what we're here for, to help you guys out. So if you do run into any problems, feel free to reach out to me directly. If for some reason I am unavailable, call CITL. But do remember, oh, I got a question. Mary?
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I do actually have a question. I was able
Mhm.
to get into Kaltura and I think I see how to edit. I can wait till you're done and I've actually just have a question about other aspects of accessibility.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Paula did give us a nice little hint when she says it can be finicky in Chrome. She is true. That is true. It can also, I've had problems in both Chrome and Firefox, but Chrome and Firefox tend to be the best of the two choices, or of the browser choices. Chrome and Firefox seems to work the best most of the time. But with anything else, sometimes if you're having a problem, sometimes switching your browser will help. So thank you for reminding me about that, Paula. Any other questions?
Okay, yeah, so I'll ask my question now.
Sure.
Um, so with my I have a lot of asynchronous assignments that students are doing, and within
Hmm.
these assignments, there are all sorts of links that I send them to. Oftentimes it might be, so if it's a children's literature course, right? There are
Hmm.
links to YouTube videos where books are being read aloud.
Hmm.
I'm not putting videos on Kaltura. I've just, almost every task I have or assignment has multiple links on it.
Okay.
So I'm wondering how do I meet the requirements? And yet, is it necessary to put all of those links, upload those as videos on Kaltura so that they're captioned? Or do you think that
Well,
the functions that YouTube offers through the link would provide enough
yeah, I mean,
accessibility?
YouTube does have captioning, right? So that you should be okay there. Sometimes, honestly, if you pull a YouTube video that's captioned into Kaltura, it sometimes double captions it, which is confusing. So I would rely on the YouTube captions
Okay.
if it were me.
Right.
Um, and and honestly, this is just something that it's not always going to be perfect. There are going to be times when um, you know you don't have control over the YouTube video, so you can't really do anything about it. Just do your best, right? and that's all we're going to do. We're going to, this is kind of going to be a bit of a learning process for all of us as we move through these things. And, as we go on, our skill and the tools we have will get better. Like I said, Kaltura is developing a tool to add extended audio descriptions and things like that. And I'm sure they're going to keep adding things like that, which will help us. You can, one thing I do know is you can also add, well, I've done this and used, we published some stuff at the library, and I have actually I've used Kaltura to caption it, and then I've actually had to pull the captioning file for them to use. So that's something I actually I don't think I showed you guys let's go back.
Another question for you is about, do students have some function where they can take web links and themselves
What do you
to
mean?
provide that captioning?
I'm not sure if I understand what you're asking. Could you?
So I think what I'm asking is, is there a function on Blackboard where if students do, or some other means, where if students have a link that they need accessibility on that, do they themselves have the ability to run that through something else?
Well, that it, as far as for them going to a website, I don't think so. No, but we do have. Well, boy, you're asking me some tough questions, Mary. Thanks.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Put me through my paces today. Yeah, see, yeah, that's one of those gray areas. I'm not sure exactly, to be honest with you. I don't think, because you don't have, if a student follows a link, I'm not sure. I mean, I know it does, we need everything to be accessible. So I would say probably, boy, I don't want to give you an answer, to be honest with you, but I would say just if the links don't have accessibility features, you may want to try to find something else that does. It'd probably be, you know what? Can you show me one of these things so I can kind of see what it looks like? That I might be able to give you a better answer.
Okay. I can circle back with you too on that when I'm trying to figure out how to. It's just I have so many, links.
Yeah, no, I understand, and this is honestly, because this is coming up quick, and it's just a lot. It can be overwhelming. So focus on current stuff. Don't try to do it all at once, and reach out. Well, I don't want to keep everybody. Everybody can do whatever they need. I can hang out after the session here if you have time, or we can set up another time to meet and walk through some of these things together if that would be more helpful for you.
Yeah, I'll circle back to you on that, but I appreciate you addressing
Okay.
that.
All right. Well, are there any other questions? Okay. Well, okay, one last thing I wanted to show you. If you ever do need to download a caption file, you can do that by coming in here and just clicking on this download button, okay? And that will download your caption file. I don't know why you would need to do that, but you can, say if you published a video to YouTube, you may want to upload the captions that way, something like that. So, but as I said, if you have any questions about this, feel free to contact me directly. If you cannot get a hold of me, contact CITL. I need to put up hold on, I'm sorry. I need to put up my ending slide. which, oh, well, before we do that, my final thoughts. Design with accessibility in mind, okay? Because when you're creating your lectures, just remember that you want to describe everything that you're showing to the students, okay? You do this naturally, but I just want to remind you, okay? Always get in the habit, and this is related to print more than it is video, but make sure you're using your titles, headers, and subheaders in your documents, and adding your alt text to images, right? And audio descriptions to video, okay? Focus on your current content, right? Because the deadline is April 26th. That's coming up pretty quick. So, but that's all I have for you today. If you do have any questions, please, I'm going to hang out here. So other than that, I am going to release you to go and caption to your heart's content. But I'll be sending up I'll send a follow-up email with some info and a link to the recording. And remember, like I said, please feel free to reach out to me if you would like help with this. I'm more than happy to set up a time to meet and we can walk through it together. But thank you very much for being here today. And I hope you gain something out of this, and we'll talk to you again soon, I hope. But if anybody has additional questions, just stay in the room if you want. If you don't have additional questions, you are free to go. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here.